recorded and live streamed by Harvard District Council. Members and officers must use this microphone in order for this to work. 2 microphones in addition to the chairs can be open at the same time. Mobile phones, members of the public. Members should switch off their mobile phones. Fire exits. We have a fire exit over there and to our right. You can make your way down. Please do not use the lifts. And the meeting point is at the top end of the downhill come. We'll go to the agenda. Item 1, apologies for absence. I have apologies received from Councillor Scott. Do you have any other apologies received?
Apologies from Councillor
Birch. Item 2, declaration of members' interests. Have members got anything to declare? No declarations to be made. Three, draft minutes of the Regulatory Committee held on 17th of the 9th, 2025. We've run from pages 3 to 5 in minutes. Someone who wasn't happy to receive this as a treasury. So far.
to propose those minutes since there's only myself and Catherine Elliott were there. That's right, no.
Yeah. Have a show of hands to accept those minutes as they stand. Item 3, appointment to the regulatory subcommittees for 2026-2027. I'll turn it to you. Afternoon.
Thank you, Chair. So yes, this is a fairly standard, straightforward report. We just have to delegate authority from the regulatory committee to a regulatory subcommittee to carry out such matters that may be so delegated under section 101 of the Local Government Act 1972 and are not already delegated under the Licensing Act 2003 or Gambling Act 2005. And that's just for the duration of 2026-27. And then the second recommendation is to appoint all members of this regulatory committee to the regulatory subcommittee so that you're all able to be called upon if there were to be any regulatory subcommittees this year. Just to make you aware, I think regulatory subcommittees as per the constitution are made up of 4 members. So that's just slightly different from licensing, which we'll come on to later. So that's everything. If you've got any questions, please do let me know. I'll hand back to you, Chair. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Okay. Can I have a show of hands? Proposal and second.
Second.
Second. Have a show of hands to accept the recommendation. Thank you very much for that. Item 5, licensing service performance update.
Thank you very much, Councillor. So this is a report about the licensing service, what the team have been doing, their performance for the last 2 years. The report is to provide members with knowledge of work carried out by the licensing team and then the wider impacts and the benefits of the licensing regime. So the recommendation is that members and the regulatory committee note the report and ask us any questions that you might have. Something additional to the report that isn't included, but we thought would be interesting for you to know, is that we've currently got a licensing and compliance officer out and about in Market Harborough Town Centre, and he's off to Lutterworth later on this week. So the jobs that he's been doing recently are essentially to do with the Football World Cup. So doing some licensing visits to local premises to make them aware of what they are, I suppose, allowed to do with their current licences in place, and then answering any questions, providing them information to enable them to apply for the relevant licences, should they want them or need them or request them, to enable them to share against Saturday as and when they come up. So that's it. Thank you.
Round table, are there any questions on this report? Councillor Baxter.
Thank you very much for the report. I just have a question concerning public house in my ward called the Shires at Beacon Parva. I was involved in some residents' concerns over a planning application they made reference to a license hearing. I believe the Shires were applying to expand the hours of provision of alcohol. I've only literally quickly read through the update. I couldn't see any particular reference to a licensing committee hearing to discuss this. Was there one?
Yes. Yes, was.
Yes. Yeah, there was an application for them to vary their premises licence. In fact, they had two within the last, I'd say 18 months. The first was to extend their opening hours and their licensable hours, because they had a dead period in the middle of the day. So they just wanted to open up during that time and obviously allow for the sale of alcohol. That was approved. And then the most recent one was to vary the licensing plan to increase the capacity and include the beer garden outside. And again, that was approved.
Oh, that's very helpful. Thank you. Is that the sort of hearing that would have been covered in the report, or is it outside of this update that this committee receives?
We wouldn't normally put details of the hearings in the report, but we can certainly make that going forward if you think that would be of interest.
Not necessarily the detail, but it might be interesting for members to know that there have been hearings when they took place. Otherwise, you get the feeling that nothing happened during the year or whatever. But if there was a particular hearing or hearings during the year, subject to chairman's views, it might be interesting just to know that they occurred. That's all.
That's right. I think that's not a bad idea to send another heading. Pick that up. It could be another thing which you should ask about if you can. Rather than to say that into detail which may not be appropriate.
Well, I've just noticed animal licenses. I just wondered if you can just give me a run through on how that's written.
Sure, yeah, so there are certain activities that are licensable under the animal welfare regulations. We are licensing dog breeding. We license dog boarding, whether that's home boarding or in kennels. We license pet shops, so anything that sells animals as pets. And the hiring forces, so riding schools, etc. And catteries and the selling of cats as kittens and pets as well, so that they all undergo inspections by an officer. Depending on the result of that inspection, will determine how low risk or high risk that licence is, therefore how long we're granted for. So it can be granted for anything from 1 to 3 years.
Councillor Mark, is that satisfactory?
Okay, sorry, I didn't actually put that on.
Any other questions? Well,
Not a question as such, but it's really interesting to see this report. We haven't had one like that before, have we? And it's really helpful to see what you've all been doing, because as you said, it's sometimes you think you're just sitting there and not doing anything, but you've obviously been very busy according to this. So well done, everyone.
I could see a couple of questions if I may, and they are purely on supplements. Just with FA events notices, there's a notable increase in the process, and that's kind of noted. Any particular reason why that might be? That's for information.
It's basically temporary events notices are a light touch licensing approach, so they are used for things like school fetes, fairs, charity events, things in unlicensed premises on a whole. But also a licensed premises can use a temporary events notice to extend their hours past their standard premises license. So it could be due to sporting events that have been going on. I imagine we'll probably see a bit of an increase in the next couple of weeks with the World Cup matches being able to progress. And yeah, it's outside factors really. We don't obviously we don't have any control over what comes to us, but yeah, we have noticed, particularly this year as well, that it does tend to have felt like it's been busier for temporary event notices.
Thank you very much. Okay. Consolation.
Yeah, can I just ask a question on the animal licenses? Do you give like ratings now? I think I read something somewhere that boarding kennels and the likes were going to be rated like you would with the food hygiene ratings. Is that come into play now?
Yes, that's always been in play with the latest set of animal welfare regulations. It's been all of the licences apart from exhibition of animals that have a star rating, and that can rate from 1 to 5. And that's done on a few risk factors as well. So if it's a new business, they can only score up to a 3 because they've not got the compliance history there. But if it's a well-established business and they're meeting certain higher standards, then it can go up to a 5-star licence. And again, that will depend whether the licence is for 1 year, 2 year or 3 year, depending on which licence it is.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's well worth checking if you're using.
Yeah, definitely.
Councillor Bunting, any question?
I do, but if I was on councillor Asher, good question about the star rating. I did notice in the report that one premise has a very low star rating of just 2. And I did wonder whether the council work with the individuals concerned to try and improve the star rating. So next time you undertake a review, hopefully they will increase their star rating.
For some premises, it's difficult for them to meet the higher standards because of things like staffing levels. For kennels, it's due to the size of the dog kennel. So we've got a couple of older establishments in the district that have got smaller size kennels. To meet the higher standards, they have to do quite a lot of work to bring those kennels up to scale. So a lot of the couple that are on a 2-star probably won't change from that due to those sorts of factors rather than there being issues with
Thank you very much. Are you happy with the rest of the Yeah. The action was to know this, so thank you very much for that. So item 6 on the agenda, any urgent business? I don't have any thoughts to make. Okay, so with that, I will close this meeting. Licensing committee. I'm open this. I'll open this meeting, the licensing committee appointed due. Start off with apologies in absence. We have an apology from councillor Scott and I presume Bertram Clement also on this committee. So we're covered. Then. Declaration of members' interests. Item 3, draft minutes of the licensing committee, 3rd June 2025, which appear on pages 3 and 35 again. I think people have had a chance to scan through those. Are we happy to accept those as they stand? Proposer, second, follow, heading again. Very much, show of hands to accept those as they stand. Okay, appointment of the licensing subcommittee and to you.
Thank you, Chair. So yes, this is fairly similar to the report that you just received at the regulatory committee. And we just now need to appoint the licensing subcommittee for 2026-27. Just to confirm that it's the municipal year as well. So the recommendations are authority be delegated to a licensing subcommittee to carry out such matters that may be so delegated under the Licensing Act 2003 or the Gambling Act 2005 for 26-27. Also that the members of the licensing committee be appointed to the licensing subcommittee for the duration of the 26-27 municipal year. So all of you and those not in attendance will be appointed to be a pool to be pulled from when we do need to have a subcommittee meeting. Different to regulatory, it's 3 members in the constitution rather than 4 for regulatory. So yeah, I'll hand back over to you, Chair. Thank you.
We have a recommendation for us, then two parts, we can take those in one vote, I think. So, closing the session to accept those recommendations. That's what I'm sure it is. Right. And the show of hands to accept us. Again, that is three members in the room. So thank you very much for that. I think that concludes what we need to do with the licensing subcommittee. Agenda item 5, again, any urgent business? We not got any urgent business. Brilliant. Is there any level?
I need to know.